If you are in your 20s right now, chances are you have felt behind at some point. You open social media and see people driving brand new cars, traveling every second week, buying houses, making six figures online, or claiming they retired at 25. And honestly, it can make you feel like you are failing before you have even really started. But here is the truth nobody really talks about. Most people in their 20s are financially confused, and the people who actually become wealthy long-term usually are not the loudest people online. They are the ones quietly building good habits, year after year. I am not a millionaire, and I am not some finance guru trying to sell you a course. I am just someone trying to build a better future while working a normal job, earning a normal income, and figuring things out as I go. After spending years learning about money, investing, and financial freedom, I realized something important. Building wealth in your 20s is actually pretty boring. But boring is what works. The first thing people get wrong is thinking wealth comes from one massive moment, one huge investment, one lucky crypto trade, or one viral business idea. Sure, sometimes people get lucky, but for most people, real wealth comes from consistency. It comes from investing every pay cycle, saving when you do not feel like it, learning skills, avoiding stupid debt, and living slightly below your means, not for 1 month or 1 year, but for a decade or more. That is the part nobody wants to hear because it is not exciting. But if you start in your 20s, time becomes your biggest advantage. Someone investing a few $100s a week at 23 is in a completely different position to someone starting at 35. Not because they are smarter, but because compound growth needs time. Honestly, your 20s are less about getting rich fast and more about building financial momentum. Another thing I realized is that income matters more than most people admit. A lot of people focus only on investing. But if you are investing tiny amounts while your income stays the same forever, progress becomes really slow. That is why one of the smartest things you can do in your 20s is increase your earning potential. Whether that means learning valuable skills, taking opportunities at work, building side income, starting a business, or even creating content online. That is one of the reasons I started this channel. Not because I expect to become rich overnight, but because creating content is one of the few things where effort can continue paying you years later. One video can keep getting views, one idea can change your life, and even if nothing crazy happens, you still learn communication, editing, marketing, and consistency, and those skills matter. But here is another truth people do not talk about enough. You cannot out-invest terrible spending habits. A lot of people earn decent money but still stay broke because their lifestyle keeps increasing every year with new cars, more subscriptions, designer clothes, finance payments, and eating out constantly, and suddenly they are trapped. One of the biggest advantages you can have in your 20s is keeping your expenses under control while your income grows. That does not mean never enjoying life. You should still travel, go out with friends, and buy things you genuinely enjoy. But there is a difference between enjoying money and trying to impress people. Most expensive lifestyles are built to look rich, not become rich. And honestly, some of the wealthiest people live surprisingly normal lives. The next thing I want to talk about is debt. Not all debt is bad. A mortgage on a good property can help build wealth over time. And using debt for a business can sometimes make sense. But consumer debt is where people destroy their future through credit cards, car loans, buy now pay later services, and financing everything. The scary part is that these payments slowly steal your income before you even realize it. And when most of your paycheck already belongs to someone else, it becomes really hard to build freedom. Freedom is the real goal, not just money, because money alone does not actually mean much. The reason people want wealth is because of what it gives them. Less stress, more choices, more time, and the ability to live life on their own terms. That is what I am chasing. Not private jets, not fake luxury, and not trying to look successful online. I just want options. I want to be able to help my family, own a home, travel when I want, not panic about bills, and eventually reach a point where work becomes optional instead of mandatory. I think a lot of people secretly want the same thing. But the problem is that social media makes everyone impatient. People want results immediately, but wealth building is slow at first. In fact, the beginning is probably the hardest part because your progress feels invisible. When you first invest, your portfolio barely moves, your savings grow slowly, and your side hustles probably make almost nothing, but eventually things start stacking. Your investments grow, your income improves, your knowledge compounds, opportunities appear, and suddenly the work you did years ago starts paying off. That is why consistency is so powerful, because most people quit before momentum arrives. I also think mindset matters more than people realize. If you constantly think you will never afford a house, you will always struggle. Or you are too far behind, you start acting like it is true. But when you start thinking long term, your decisions change. You become more patient, more disciplined, and more intentional. You stop chasing shortcuts and start building systems, and systems create results. For me personally, I am trying to focus on a few key things, like investing consistently, increasing income, building online income streams, improving my skills, and staying patient. Nothing crazy and nothing flashy, just steady progress. Because the older I get, the more I realize wealth is less about one big moment and more about thousands of small decisions repeated over time. Honestly, I think people underestimate how powerful your 20s can be. You have time, energy, flexibility, and the ability to take risks before life becomes more complicated. You do not need to have everything figured out right now, because most people do not. But if you can avoid major mistakes, stay disciplined, and commit to improving your financial situation, year after year, you are already ahead of most people. Maybe the biggest lesson I have learned is this: nobody is coming to save you financially, not the government, not your employer, and not some magic investment. Your future mostly comes down to the decisions you make consistently over the next 5 to 10 years. And that might sound intimidating. But honestly, I think it is empowering too, because it means your future is still in your control. Even if you are starting small, even if you do not earn heaps, and even if you feel behind, you can still build a great life, one step at a time. Maybe that is the real truth about building wealth in your 20s. It is not fast, it is not glamorous, and it is definitely not easy. But if you stick with it long enough, it can completely change your future.